Thank you guys. You guys can be seated. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Ascent. We're so glad you guys joined us today. Thanks for making this a part of your Sunday morning. Thanks for your presence in this space matters, and we're so glad to have each and every one of you here. If I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, my name's Chris. I'm on staff here, and today is our Celebration Sunday. Like Bill was talking about, you're going to get to hear some extraordinary stories of what's been going on in the lives of students around here in this church. But I'll be honest with you, it is our Celebration Sunday, but for me, it feels a bit more like Deep Breath Sunday. This feels like the last moment to take a deep breath before we kind of plunge into what, for us at least, is the fall season. Anybody that's got school going on, it's coming. And in that tradition, there's a lot of good emotions. There's a lot of different feelings around that. I know for a lot of our college students have already started to go back to campus or will be leaving in the next couple of weeks for the first time. And I know going to school can be a whole mix of emotions. It can be exciting and so exhilarating and to get to see friends again or get to be back together or leave for the first time. There can be a lot of fear and dread and a lot of homework, and that goes in there too. I know some people in this room with students going off to college means for the very first time, you're going to be an empty nester. And there's all kinds of emotion in that. Some things you look forward to, some things you're dreading. For any of our regular students going back to school, again, that's just the routine in that is a lot. Hopefully you're excited to see friends. Hopefully you're excited to have some good things in it. I'm sure there's some negative emotion in going back to school too. For us, we're stepping into what it is now to be parents in school, and I know parents, you guys got to get used to rides and schedules and alarms and all that stuff. I have a 6-year-old named Jack, and he is going to start kindergarten this year. So this is our first year of school, and I will tell you, there are a lot of big emotions going on in our household from all four of us. We've never done this before. Veteran parents, you can laugh at us, but the one thing that's really keeping me up at night is school starts at 7:45. Whatever, it's normal. Never, and I mean never, in my 6 years of parenting, have we had breakfast before 8 o'clock? So I don't know what we're gonna do. We're cooked, and you can pray for us because this is just gonna be it's gonna be a big adjustment for us. We're trying to figure it out. A lot of transitions there. If maybe you're not in the school system, maybe you don't have someone that you know is in the school system, but for whatever reason, I feel like the summer is coming to an end, and in that we start to transition into the fall. We're in the back half of 2025. Which feels crazy to me because I feel like we just got here. And I would say this is maybe my most bipartisan way to say this. I feel like our country has been in a lot of transition. And no matter what it is, for all of us, I feel like we're about to launch into a season where there is a lot of transition. Maybe for you, that's something that's more professionally. And you found yourself now not working in a space or not working with someone that you thought that you were going to be. And you're trying to figure out, what does that look like? Or you've had an opportunity come up. And you're looking at, what is it going to look like for me to transition into a different space or a different company or a different role? Maybe it's more of a living situation where you're trying to figure out, what is my living situation going to be? Or maybe you brought somebody or a couple people into your home and you're trying to figure out, what does it look like for me to live with this person? How does this all work? And there's transition there. Maybe it's more relational. Maybe you've had somebody or a group of people that were a part of your life, a regular part of your life, and now they're gone. And you're trying to figure out, what does it look like now that they're not here? Or maybe someone's come into your life, and in that, again, there's a lot of emotions on both directions. There's excitement and learning what that looks like, and also frustrations and expectations, and how does that all work together? I think all of us, if we think about it, have something that is a transition for us. Obviously, if you call Ascent your home, if you've been around here, this Ascent has been in a lot of transition. I mean, whether it's just construction of building this whole space here, our neighbors at Relish going under construction, that getting finished, us figuring out how that all works together, or much more, potently what's been this summer of having a lot of people transition, and in some ways celebrating and being excited for dear friends of ours that are stepping into new seasons of life and what that's going to look like for them, and also deeply lamenting the lack of their presence, what they've been to so many of us here, the roles that they've played. What is that going to look like? We're in a lot of transition. And the question I want to start our morning with is to ask you this question. When you experience transition, whether it's right now or another season of life, when you are in transition, what is your response? How do you respond to transition? I think for most of us, at least for myself, I think for many of us in here, when we experience transition, I think a lot of us react. We go into reaction mode. We try to figure out what it's going to look like. We try to make it go back to the way it was. We try to make it work out as best as we can for us. We try to take control of it. Whatever we do, we try to react to it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like being in reaction mode. And the reason for that is when I'm reacting, I am no longer the agent that is like causing things to happen. I am not the one making things happen. It's something else, a situation or someone else is having something happen around me or to me that I have to react to. And I don't think that all transition is bad. I actually think it's a really healthy and a good thing to experience. But I do not like when I feel like I am no longer the agent able to do something. And I don't believe that God desires for us to be in that kind of space either. And I think that because in the most generic interpretation of this, when God created humanity, if you read Genesis 1, it says that we are created in God's image. That God shared his image with us. What does it mean for us to be created in God's image? There's a lot you could say in that, but I think in the most simplest way, God is a creator. And I think that he gave us the unique and specific privilege of being creators, of being agents that could do wonderful things, that could do terrible things, but being people that are agents that can do things. And when we enter into a space where we're in reaction mode, I think we've moved away from a space that God desires for us to be in. And I think this is why, for most people, we resist change, we resist transition with everything we can. And what I want to propose today is that instead of our reaction or our response to transition being reaction, that our response to transition would be to remember. And here's where this comes from. This is what I want to take us into. I want us to look at the book of Nehemiah. If you've not read the book of Nehemiah, it's in the Old Testament, and it's, for me at least, probably the Old Testament book that I return to most frequently. It's an incredible story that if you have not read, I would encourage you guys, take some time this week and read it. I'm going to give you guys a shotgun overview of what's happening in the book of Nehemiah and try to attach it to what we might be experiencing in this season that we're in now. In Nehemiah, the people of Israel, God's people, are in a season of extraordinary transition. They have been defeated and overrun by Persia. And most of the inhabitants, or most of the people of Israel, have been brought into exile into Persia. The capital city of Israel, Jerusalem, has been destroyed. It is the defenses, the military outposts, the turrets, the walls, it's been destroyed. The city is in shambles. There are some people that are still living there, and they're trying to figure out what life looks like, but there's no security at all. Any resources that they're able to generate are open season for raiders or pillagers or anyone that would want to take advantage of the people that are there. And in the midst of this, there's one of the Israelites that's been exiled. His name is Nehemiah. And he hears about the state of Jerusalem. He hears about what's going on in his capital city that he's been removed from. And because of his life, and because of what God was doing in his life, he has acquired extraordinary influence. It's a great story that you should read when you get a chance. And he decides to leverage his influence to bring a bunch of people and a bunch of materials to Jerusalem to start rebuilding this wall and start rebuilding the city. And you can read about it, that the people enter into a big season of transition, as many of us are far too familiar with. They go into construction season, and there's a whole lot in that. And they got to get all the plans right and get people involved and expectations met. And some people aren't doing their job, and other people's are, or people have different ideas of what should be going on. It's a process to be sure. And they're in that season of transition of construction. In the midst of that, they're also in their transition experiencing a lot of antagonism. The surrounding towns, the communities of people, the individuals and groups of people have no interest in seeing Jerusalem become established again. And they do everything they can to interrupt the work, to threaten and distract and stop this rebuilding, this transition from happening. And I know, unfortunately, there are too many of you in this room that know exactly what it's like when you are trying to change something in your life, trying to make a transition for the better, and you're met with a ton of antagonism from people that don't want to see things change and don't have your best in mind and want to get in the way of that. And throughout the first few chapters of the book, they're in this space. And they finally get to the point. They make it through construction. They rebuild the wall. And they find themselves now on the precipice of what I would say is the biggest transition yet. Now the walls have been repaired. And the people can move back into the city. And as they look to move back into the city, there is going to be a ton of transition as they look at what is it going to look like for us to live life together. How do we be neighbors again? How do we interact with each other? How do we build some infrastructure back? How do we set up a government that works, that it actually functions well, which maybe we can learn something from that too. And in that, they're about to go into this big season of transition, of reestablishing life in the city. And at the point where they're about to enter into that, I want us to look at how they responded to it. Instead of just going into reaction mode, instead of just jumping right into it, it says this. We're going to jump in at chapter 8, verse 2. It says, on the first day of the 7th month, Ezra the priest brought the law. And when it says the law, it's talking about the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible that talk about who God is and what God has done. Ezra the priest brought the law before the assembly, which was made up of men and women and all who were able to understand. He read it aloud from daybreak till noon as he faced the square before the water gate, in the presence of the men and the women and the others who could understand. And all the people listened attentively to the book of the law. What I want us to see in this moment is that the people of Israel, in the midst of their big transition that they're experiencing or about to be in, instead of just reacting to it, their response was to remember who God is and what he has done. And it goes on to say, if you jump down to verse 18, it says that day after day, from the first day to the last, Ezra read the book of the law of God. They continue to pause first and remember, what is it that God has done? And in the midst of our transition, whatever that might be for you, or what we might share together, or what you might be experiencing just yourself, I want to invite us to remember what God has done. That before we react to it, that we would remember. That's what we want to do this morning. That's what we're going to spend some time doing, is remembering what God has been doing in and throughout this church and the lives of a lot of people here. You're going to get to hear about our graduated 8th graders before their 9th grade year. They go down to Arizona to the Navajo reservation to partner with the community there that we've been doing for over 10 years. We have a phenomenal relationship with a Navajo pastor there that I hope many of you guys in the years to come will get a chance to meet as well. You're going to hear a little bit about that. We were able to restart our kids camp after having to take a little break from it during construction. And our kids got to have an extraordinary experience, and the families involved got to connect in a powerful way. And then just a couple of weeks ago, over 50 of us went down to Belize with our high school ministry and got to experience something powerful with God. And we want to take a moment this morning and pause and remember what God has done. So I want to welcome up Molly and Camille and Macy to tell you a little bit about our trip to Arizona.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see all of you. My name is Molly, and I am joined here by Camille and Macy, 2 of our graduated 8th graders that are about to head into high school in just a few days. But they spent a week this summer, at the very beginning of summer, going down to the Navajo reservation in Arizona with us and doing some work. And so they are going to share a little bit about their experience and what they learned while we were down there. And so, Camille, I'm going to start with you. And I would love to hear about why you said yes to serving this community and coming on this trip with us.
Yeah, so originally I found out about the trip, and I decided I was going to go on it because I heard my parents talk about my whole life, their mission trips and their relationships that they builded when they were on their mission trips, and I wanted to share that experience with them and be able to create my own memories.
I love it. That's so cool. Shout out to Camille's parents for that. And the majority of us, a few of you guys I know are here, but the majority of us were not on that trip. So can you paint a picture of what that trip looked like, what we did, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we were in Navajo Nation in Arizona, which is a Native American reservation. And when we were on the res, we were staying in a church, and the boys were staying in a sanctuary on the floor. And then the girls got lucky enough to have some bunk beds upstairs. So we were staying upstairs. And we had 2 jobs we were mainly working on. So we were working either at on the church site building a food warehouse, and unfortunately the group that was there before us, they laid the concrete wrong. So we were there pickaxing all of that concrete that they laid wrong out. And then our second site we worked at was a woman named Jenny's house, and her house unfortunately burned down about a year ago, and so we were there shoveling out all of those ashes and taking them down and helping her rebuild her foundation.
Yeah, we showed up at the warehouse, and there's a full thing of concrete, and they just handed us pickaxes and said, go to town, break it up. And we're like, okay, hard work if you never pickaxed cement before. And then, yeah, it was really cool to get to help this woman whose house burned down a year ago, and things move a little bit slower there. So we finally were able to help her remove the ashes and things like that. And obviously, our community has been through that ourselves. So it was really cool to get to go and help this woman clean up her house a bit. Can you tell me a little bit more about like your personal experience and like how you were impacted by this trip?
Yeah, definitely. When I was on this trip, I definitely felt like God's presence in my life. Like when we were walking from that Jenny's house, there was like a place we had to dump in. It was about a quarter mile of a walk. And when we were walking, we would just walk with like pairs, and the conversations we would have, I could just feel God's presence, whether it was talking about favorite candies or it was talking about God's presence in our lives. I could totally feel how God was working in our relationships with our friends while we were there.
Yeah. And then we've been home for a bit. The trip was at the very beginning of the summer. So can you tell me just how you've seen God moving since you've been home?
Yeah, so I got home and I just took a second to reflect, and I could totally just feel God's presence just working in me while I was reflecting and helping me continue the relationships that I built while I was on this trip. And just even in everyday life, like just being able to serve the Lord like we did when we were on the mission trip, I learned so much about how I can help communities even just around us in Colorado, and how I can spread God's word.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Camille. Yeah, of course. All right, Macy, you also decided to come on this trip with us and spend a week with us in Arizona. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience there?
So there was like this cool story where like a few of us went to go work on a dumpster, and this little girl, Kavina, came up to us, and she just wanted to be like held and wanted to like play with us. And I think it was like really cool to see how she wasn't like scared of us, and like she didn't know us, but she already felt like comfortable with us. And like that's how it was like mostly in the community. Like everyone just felt comfortable with us.
Yeah, we got to spend a lot of time with some of the children in the local community there. And yeah, Kavina was like your girl. You guys like teamed up together. It was really cool to see. And then from there, from serving in Arizona, Macy actually came back in that next week, jumped right into serving here at Ascent Kids Camp. So I'm actually so curious, from serving in Arizona to then coming to Kids Camp and working with more kids, how has that impacted you?
I think it's like impacted me because it's like my first ever Sunday was the Sunday after Arizona, and now I've been here every Sunday since. And I think it's just like really cool because I met like some really, like I connected with everyone there, because before Arizona, I wasn't really close with anyone. I was only close with everyone I went to school with. But then in Arizona, I got close with like my leaders like Molly and Chris and Gracie and Nathan. And I think it was just cool because they brought me really closer to like the church and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So you jumped right in. All right, we jumped right in with Kids Camp that next week, and then you've actually started serving in Ascent Kids as well. So you and kids just go together like that, which I love. But how has that experience been for you of saying, I'm going to step up, I'm going to lead in this church, and I'm going to serve these kids here?
Yeah, Kids Camp was like really cool because it was really cool to see like the kids wanting to learn about Jesus and like teaching them about Jesus, and like it was really cool just like be there for them. And like I got really close with a few of the kids that I also still serve like on Sundays. I still hang out with them, and I think it's just really cool, like the bonds I got with them.
Yeah, I love it. Let's give it up for Camille and Macy and their amazing leadership in stepping up and serving both communities here and there. So thank you guys so much for all that you've done. We're actually going to get to see what Kids Camp looks like from leader perspective and a kid's perspective. So that we're going to go and have a bit of time and see what that looks like.
Got a spot for you that's chilling right next to me. And Oh, so fun. It's so fun for us to see that and be reminded of the week we got to spend together celebrating with our kids. Our theme was Start the Party, and it was all about celebrating the good news and being party starters. So it is so fun to see that. I'm Kaylee, and this is Katie Steller. Katie is here to help us celebrate what God did through Ascent Kids Camp this summer. So Katie is a mom of 2, and her oldest, Madeline, is a 4-year-old, which means Katie was a first-time parent of a camper. She had a first-time camper. So we actually have a picture of Madeline, who was very excited to come to camp. So there's Madeline. But Katie, will you just share with us a little bit about Madeline's experience and your perspective as a parent of a camper?
Yes, yeah, camp, I think was the highlight of her summer. I was telling Kaylee that, she constantly asks me on a weekly basis when she gets to go back to camp. So I think you've got at least one sign up for next year.
300 more days. It's fine.
Yes,
It's good. It's good.
We're getting closer. No, she loved it. Like, I think like a lot of kids, she kind of walked in a little bit apprehensive. Just, it's something new. It's not your typical Sunday, but she saw some of her buddies that she goes to, Ascent Kids with. She saw you and Terry and Stuart, and I think she felt welcome, pretty much immediately, like kind of once we walked in the door. So she absolutely loved it. And I was telling Kelly about how Madeline loves to sing and dance and knows all the songs that we practice throughout the week. And even to the point that this summer honestly, at a couple barbecues, she's come up and asked the host to change the music to some of the camp songs, and she wants to put on a performance for everyone. So I think it made a great impact.
Yes. Madeline is putting in those requests with the DJ. We actually have a little video of Madeline, and she's actually getting to talk about spreading and sharing the good news. So let's check out this video of Madeline. Yes. A little glimpse into the Stellar household. What I love about it is it planted seeds in the heart and the mind of Madeline and a bunch of other kids. And I know you shared with me, I want to hear about your experience serving. But before we get there, will you just share a little bit about, you said it was a little nostalgic for you too, seeing Madeline go to camp for the first time because it reminded you of your childhood, right?
Yes, yeah, it was a throwback that, kind of unlocked memories that I haven't had for, 20 plus years at this point. Yeah, which was great. No, it was great to see. I think, Macy shared this too with what she saw with the kids at camp, but it was just fun to see the kids get excited about Jesus and learning about his love and just start to make some of those connections in their faith in an environment too that they don't typically get to experience. They're not at church, for a full week on end. So this is great to have them in an environment where they get to kind of like build on what they've learned each day, which was really exciting to watch.
Yes, there's something about condensed time together that's really special and laying that foundation. So I alluded to it, but Katie not only was the parent of a camper, but Katie was someone who said, I'm going to put my hand in the middle and I'm going to serve at camp this year. So Katie gave up 4 days to come and serve with us, and she was one of our leads with our pre-K kiddos. So just tell them a little bit about what it was like to serve in that space.
Yes, yeah, I help out on Sunday mornings, and so I didn't know if that would translate to any of this, but I knew since Kaylee and Terry put this on that it was going to be a well-oiled machine, super organized, and just it was very easy to transition into. Each day, everything is super put together. You can kind of jump in and all the activities are organized. But, from my perspective, it was just kind of fun to kind of like let your ambitions down, and you get to kind of like be a kid again, jumping around, dancing and singing in a way that, you don't get to at this age. So it was very fun to just kind of jump in there and play around with the kids and have a good time.
Yes, so good. And we got to hear from Macy just a minute ago, but Macy was one of the students who served in your room with pre-K kiddos. But we're celebrating the next generation, and you got to see that firsthand of not only our kids who were learning and excited to be there, but you served along some incredible adults who also gave up time, but also our students. And so just tell us what that was like to serve alongside some students.
Yes, our student leaders were incredible. They have like, you know, way more energy than I'll ever had, which is incredible when they're coming and hanging out with a bunch of preschoolers. So they brought positivity each morning. They brought leadership that honestly I wasn't expecting. They dove in and led a lot of the activities for the kids, which was so fun to watch. And it was actually really fun to see with Camille and Macy, like with them speaking today, all of the other students who came up and gave them encouragement as they're about to go on stage and as they like took their seats. So it's really nice to see just all the students stepping up and taking on these leadership roles that, you know, it's not forced, you know, it's something that they're called to do, not something that I think is necessarily expected.
And Madeline is seeing Macy on Sunday mornings and seeing her serve, so amongst some others. So yes, we're so grateful. Well, thank you, Katie, for helping us celebrate Ascent Kids Camp and all that God has been doing there. Yeah, let's hear it. We get to now transition and hear about what God has been doing in one way with our high school students. And so we're going to hear about the Belize trip. So turn your attention to the screens.
We're shoveling dirt and filling in this trench over here. We're all working really hard, putting dirt in wheelbarrows. Over there we have some cement going on to plaster the walls in there of the church. And we're working hard. We're all in high spirits, getting in the rhythm of things. Yep. Woo! We're at the convention center. We're moving cinder blocks, helping them move things around, making some concrete, filling in some holes in the walls.
It's been a really great opportunity to just get out of what my normal life is like and see what the world is like for other people.
One thing that has really changed for me so far is meeting all new people and getting to really share a bond with everyone by working all together. And it's been really nice just getting to know everyone.
So I feel like I've grown in a spiritual sense by being with the locals and just learning about them and connecting that with my spiritual life, and seeing how happy they are and how I can be more joyful with my life and just grateful.
So at the end of each night, we're kind of gathering in a big group right outside here, and all 52 of us circle up together on our big benches, and we kind of debrief what we've been doing all day, what we've been working on, and then after that, we do kind of to shout out at each other. So we recognize the work that's being done. So that's happening right behind me now. We'll hear about that again tonight in small groups.
I don't think people realize that on these trips of how much physical labor it actually takes to get this work done. Right now behind me, we are moving rocks in dirt, buckets and buckets full, to start to make a little bit of more area for people to park here. And they are out here sweating, they're exhausted, but they're doing it and they are loving it and they're building each other up in it, and it's truly just the most incredible thing to see.
Very nice. Sweet.
Rating
10
1 out of 10, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Actually, 11 out of 10. This is from this guy's backyard, so very cool.
One of my favorite experiences of being a leader here is getting to hear our students' stories, and I'm constantly reminded that what they're walking through is real, and it's heavy, and it's hard. Yeah, I'm always impressed and inspired by the joy that they live with and the resiliency that they live with. It's been a really refreshing and good reminder of how I want to live back home, as well as how incredible the community we have here is.
Oh, man. You have to bear with us. We haven't seen that video yet. That just takes me back. There's a lot of emotions to go in there, but hey guys, this is Lewis Walker. I just graduated from Centaurus, Let's go Warriors. That's
go
what it
Warriors.
is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
let's
it. And you head out to Gonzaga in just a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, go Zags. Go Zags.
Yeah, there we go. So Louis got to be a part of this trip. This trip was about 6-7 days. You got to be there. Will you let them know? Like, not everybody got to see what that was. We got a little bit of a picture there, but tell them like what were we doing in case they are trying to figure out what do these trips look like? What does it mean to be involved with those?
Well, I think the best way to say it was just 7 days of just straight manual labor. I mean, Chris just worked us until we literally dropped every single day.
Okay, all right. Is he wrong? Anyway.
But I think for me, at least what I got from the trip and what we saw is just we would be moving cinder block. We'd be like pickaxing. You saw like Chris over there like laying down pickaxe. We had Bridger being an absolute animal for like an hour. It's like, give me the pickaxe. He would just sit there and go off. But I just think it was just really nice just doing all this manual labor. We were building walls, moving a ton of dirt, mixing concrete. Just a lot of just kind of that helping the communities build up this community center for all of them.
Yeah. And so tell them too, for you coming on this trip, what was your thought of coming on this? Like how did you get on that trip?
Well, at least for me, when I first kind of heard about this trip, it was just all my friends. I just come to a summit from a dodgeball, which we'll talk about in a second. But really, for me, it was just kind of like a volunteer opportunity. I just wanted to help the community out. I just wanted to do my best, do my part, just for a place that maybe wasn't as supported as a place like here. And for me, we got here, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing, helping out this community, really volunteering, but just finding all these connections with so many different people. I mean, I went into it like on the first time on the plane, like never even like reading like a single like verse in the Bible. And I read like, I don't even know, like 11 chapters of Matthew, like straight, like right there. Cause I was just like, I gotta get caught up. Like all these people know everything about it, and I have absolutely no idea. So for me at least, like I read and I was just trying to like get into the experience because again, I was just only there for like the volunteering, but it was so great what happened after that though.
Oh gosh, I love it. I mean, this guy. What was cool is, we met Louis at a dodgeball tournament. He just came to come play, and I was like, it's okay. Like, I know that God wasn't maybe like the first thing that had been defining your life so far. It wasn't something that was necessarily like never existed, but not like number one. So you come on this trip, expecting to just help out, which you definitely did. But I remember when he and I sat down a week ago and we're just talking through this, I remember you were talking about what it was like to be with the team there, and you said something that I was just profound. I'd love for you to tell these guys too. You talked about the difference between just encouragement and evaluation and kind of what you were seeing in that. Tell them about that.
Well, at least what I get from this culture, like at least we have here in the United States, it's more just like kind of one-up each other. At least in high school, everyone's like, I'm all cool, I'm all hip, I got the cool clothing on, I'm smarter than you. And what I really felt like and what really connected with me so much in Belize is that everyone there the entire time was motivational. No one was sitting there like trying to put you down. They're all like cheering you on, like when you're either running the wheelbarrow back and forth doing our relays that we had, or when you're mixing concrete and puffing in all the concrete fumes into your lungs.
Okay, all right. Keep going.
But I think for me, it was just such an amazing experience having all that motivation and have these just truly amazing people and being able to connect with all of you guys and just having so much fun with all these great and just genuinely just great people. So I think for me, that motivation of just every single day waking up and someone's there like, hey, you're gonna have a good day, Louis, or like, hey, I'm so happy you're here. It was so amazing.
Gosh, that's, I won't take too much, but that piece, just to hear you say that, to recognize, when we try to explain what is it like to be around God, what does life with God look like? An environment of just encouragement, not an environment of evaluation. I just think that's powerful, and I'm so glad that's what it felt like for you to be there. I think it was the case for a lot of people. Now throughout the week, you were as involved as you could get. Doing everything, playing with kids, building things, connecting with everybody. It led to the point where you decided that you wanted to be baptized. You wanted to make an outward statement of what God was doing. Tell us about what got you to that point. What was it like? Why? Tell us about the baptism.
Well, kind of beforehand, I kind of like played with the idea with God. I didn't really have any experience. I rarely came to church, maybe for like, Easter and Christmas, like the occasional like couple times a year. And I went to it, as I said, like basically reading like no scripture of any kind. And I just went into it, and Stuart's in the back. Hey, Stuart back there. Just wave. For me, they're one of those nights when we all got in this big group. He said something that really connected with me. And it was just, you have to take that uncomfortable step. And for me, I wanted to take that uncomfortable step with God and just really have that connection with Him. So for me, when I was being baptized, I think it would be like everyone before being baptized just said, like, why are you doing this? Like, what's your motivation for doing this? And for me, it was because I wanted to make that connection with him. I wanted to feel that love and kindness that he has been waiting so long to give to me. And like, I don't know if you saw me. I know Bridget was holding me up, and so was Sam. But after I got baptized, it was just a wave of emotion because I felt that love and kindness of God, and just like that he cared for me and wanted to connect with me. So I was bawling my eyes out in the core for like 20 minutes. So I was just like watching this all, like everyone being baptized, so happy that everyone's getting these connections with God. And then my sister got baptized, and oh boy. So I was like, okay, I gotta lock back in. Like, can't keep crying during this. Like, we're gonna be on camera, and like Stuart's gonna be taking photos of us. And I walk over there to baptize my sister, and oh man, just being able to share that moment with her in connection with God was just unbelievable. Being able to baptize her, like I just started like sobbing. I hugged her, I had this whole hug. I was saying we love each other. It was just such an amazing moment, just feeling that love and connection that God wanted us to have. So.
I love that. Yeah, that is a cheer for sure. And I hope you guys hear, man, when we take that uncomfortable step with God, it is powerful, and there is so much in that. Now we've been home for about a month now. We're heading to school soon. What has it been like to be home? As you look at the transition to school coming up, what's it been like?
It's hard. I mean, it's one of those experiences, it's hard to really wrap your brain around. Like, you're just in this week of this amazing community, and you just come back. It's easy to get into old habits. And I notice myself do that constantly over and over again. And it's hard just to get out of those things where I'm like, I don't like myself, I hate myself, there's a lot of self-negativity. But for me, what helped me so much with being baptized and what helped me find that connection with God is that I would feel like that love and connection, like God loves me. Even though I may be in a time of like sadness, I'm really hurt, like maybe I'm having like a really rough day, no matter what's going on, God is with me and wants to love me and have that connection with me. And even on the good days, maybe I'm having a great day. No matter if it's a good day or a bad day, God is there preaching, just giving me his power, his love, his connection. And for me, that was everything. That just has helped me so much in this past month, just grow as a person and just really find myself and connect with God on another level.
Ah, man, guys, you give a hand for Lewis. If you want to know what God is doing, if you want to see what he is like, I hope you remember what Lewis just said. I hope you remember those words even for yourselves. That no matter what your situation is, that God loves you. In hard transition, in good days, in bad days, God loves you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Lewis, thanks, man. Yeah. Oh, man. And I just want to close our time with this. I want to take 1 minute to just bring us back to this Nehemiah story, back to the people of Israel. In the midst of their transition, in the midst of all that was going on, they made a decision to not just react, but to remember, to do what we've just done here, to remember who God is, to remember what he is doing. And in the midst of doing that, in the midst of that process of them learning and remembering and taking that time, they discover something. And I want us to jump back in chapter 8, verse 14. It says this: they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded through Moses, that the Israelites were to live in temporary shelters during the festival of the 7th month. What this is talking about is something called the Festival of Booths. And I'm out of time, so I can't go into what that is. And if you want to go research what that is, you can go see what it was about and why they were called into it. But this is what I want you guys to take away from it. They decided, as they took time to remember who God was, to take part and participate in what he was doing. They discovered an invitation to be a part of what God was doing. And they said, let's do this. We didn't even know this was a thing. Let's jump back in. Let's do this celebration. And it says in verse 17 that from the days of Joshua son of Nun until that day, which is about 900 to 1,000 years, it's been a century since they had done this. It said the Israelites had not celebrated it like this, and their joy was very great. My prayer for every single one of us is that whatever transition you may be in, whatever transition you may find yourself in, I promise you life is going to continue to bring you more and more transitions. When they come, I pray that your joy would be great, and that it would be like nothing that you have experienced before. And I believe that's possible when our response to transition, when our response to change is to pause and to remember this is who God is. This is what he's doing. And then to take a step to say, I actually want to be involved in this. I want to participate in this so that our joy can be great. And if you're asking the question, which I hope you will do throughout this week, maybe for the rest of this season, is ask the question, what has God been doing and how can I participate in it? It is clear that God is moving in the lives of our students and in the lives of our kids. And maybe you're going, for me, I want to be involved in that. And that might look like coming and helping me and Molly and our teams of middle and high school students as we continue to walk with them. And if that's the case, please come talk to me or Molly after the service. We'd love to talk through what that looks like. Maybe you're deciding to do like Macy did and recognizing the joy that it is when our little kids start to experience these foundational blocks that God loves you. That we hope that they know at an early age and continue to repeat into their adult age, just like Lewis told us. And you want to get involved in that. And like Bill said, if that's you, scan that QR code on the chair. Go sit down with Terry. Find out what it's like to get involved with kids once a week on a Sunday morning. It's powerful. Because when we step into what God is doing, we get to experience him more and more. My hope is, what I want to close this morning, is that we would take it, like we have done this morning, that we would continue to remember who God is and what he is doing. I invite you to consider what those steps are. And I think one of the easiest ways for us to remember who God is when we worship and sing together. That's what we're going to do. We're going to close our service with a couple more songs, singing. And as we do, I pray that you would hear who God is. Remember who he is. Ask him, where can I be involved? For you college students, maybe when you go to campus, I hope you will look for where God is moving and get involved in that. Maybe that's a church that's on campus or a college ministry or a small group. For all of us, maybe even just through this whole season, God's been stirring something in you, something personal. They're going, I need to tell somebody about this. I need to bring somebody in and say, I don't know, it's something, God's moving something in me. It's leading me to think this way or stop thinking that way, but I want to bring someone in and share life with them. Maybe you get a group together and you start to live life together weekly, gathering together. Whatever it is, let's remember who God is. And let's do that together by singing together now.